about the top foursome, let's get into the NBA award finalists. And so DraftKings and their odds on all the various awards, and we finally have our finalists. We've been talking about it. Last week we spoke about it. Who are the finalists for, as MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Clutch Player of the Year.
I keep forgetting about that shit too, and Steph Curry is always on it too.
And Coach of the Year. Yeah. I never thought about that.
Is never
and Coach of the Year. Right. And so, he's finally on it. But we've been talking about it, and so there might be some surprises. And then there's also some shoe-ins. Let's start with MVP. And so the finalists are Luka, Shea, and the Joker.
Man, to be honest with you, if I had to pick somebody for my MVP, I would really love to see SGA get it. Like we spoke on last week, bro, what he's doing with that young team, the level he's playing at, I think they compared it to like the 88 Jordan season, which is one of the craziest seasons of all time. Yep. His numbers is crazy. I think even at the beginning of the year, how he started off going up against, the golden child, Steph Curry, and really setting the tone from there was really unbelievable. Especially considering when you're seeing some of these people have like such a hot flash. Like you look at the Tyrese Maxey's and they weren't able to keep it up, pause. And now you're looking that this dude was able to, finish third in the West with like literally a college team. I just think when you're able to, give it away, because clearly this is like a Jokic league, apparently, if you listen to George Karl, that you got to give it, you know what I mean? You got to be able to give it to people that are deserving. I think SGA has been ridiculously deserving, and what his team that he's carrying is unreal.
And they finished first in the West.
He finished first. Oh, I'm tweaking.
Yes.
Man, get that man. Bro, get that man an MVP. I didn't even know why we were still arguing about this.
That's why
we had this conversation last week. I mean, this might not mean much, but you got the point for MVP. SGA.
Yeah, true story. But the interesting part about that too is that New Orleans are going to test them.
I believe so. My man, Steve.
They went 5 minutes without a field goal in game one, and I was locked in. I know there's been a lot of discussions around basketball, around defense, and the refs can turn, or NBA can turn the water on and off on scoring. It could be 150, it could be 88. They decide, but like I think the game was like, I'm watching the officials on a different level now. I'm watching them off the ball during timeouts, during reviews. Like I'm watching the refs closely now. That was a well-ref game. It was a few calls, superstar calls, but the benefit of the doubt was given to superstar. I'm fine with that. It was an interesting challenge by OKC late in the game. That was a jump ball, a 7-1 guy versus I forgot who jump ball with New Orleans, but OKC was favored to win the tip. They challenged, ended up being off OKC. New Orleans gets the ball. It was crazy. And I felt like that was a big play, but they ended up pulling the game out. But you could see the nervousness, and it got a little shaky in OKC. I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs in 5 years. Maybe it's the Cowboys they get out, and so that series, certain series, we keep it a buck. Certain series I ain't watching. Like, I don't waste my time watching this series. And I think people preview that. Like, I'm watching that series. I'm not watching that series. The OKC New Orleans series was an interesting one. Small markets. People may not be as familiar with Shea. People definitely don't know Brandon Ingram in the manner that they should. Zion's out. But that game was really good. That was a really good game, and I hope it keeps going with the battle. It was the only game that wasn't a blowout.
So you say there's certain games you're not watching or series. So why is that Orlando versus Cleveland Cavaliers?
Who said I wasn't watching it?
No, because I watched the game. I watched the game the other day and I enjoyed it. But I'm like, man, this game boring as hell. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm probably the only man on earth watching it.
Well, I think you got two young teams with Orlando and Cleveland. Not a lot of playoff experience. Like Donovan's been in the playoffs, but has Donovan ever been favored to win a series?
Yeah.
It's a little different, right?
You want to know what's so crazy? Even you bring up Donovan, and I'm a big fan of Donovan, but Donovan was talked about and regarded, in my personal opinion at one point, how they were talking about Anthony Edwards right now. And it kind of threw me off. And now, like, I'm at the point now where I'm like, good. Like, I think my thing against Donovan was like, no, he's really good, but like, they talking about like he's like young Jordan, and now or like D Wade, and I feel that it fits more accurately now that they're hyping up Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, but it's gonna be interesting. They get out the first round, and then they look to who's won in or Boston. They got to see Boston next. I think he's been in the league for a while on Donovan's side, and if you don't really make a large impression in the playoffs in terms of advancing and giving to your team a real shot at least getting to the conference finals, you know how the league is. Like they're going to run it up in terms of their energy behind you from the get-go. If you show some promise as a rookie, they're going to follow you. They're going to give you all the praise. They're going to build up that narrative for you. But it can fizzle out if you don't make it too far. Like if you don't see, like if you're not like one of those guys that can be like, whoa, they're first in their conference. They got a real chance of making a run at it. MVP. USA, Team USA. I mean, what Anthony Edwards has been doing, the energy he took, the momentum he took from last summer, and I think we've been saying it for the longest. We might have been first, and people call me, I'm always saying something people call hot takes. It wasn't a hot take. Like I was saying, Anthony Edwards he could be better than Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade's a top 5 shooting guard of all time. People were like, what? He always talking crazy. Now they talking about Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, speaking of Anthony Edwards, and you brought up like the one little thing of being able to be first in conference and all that. We look at like the MVP conversation and like look at Tatum. Don't you think he kind of got snubbed in this situation? He averaged 27, 28 per year. His team won the league by a month, basically. They're basically in practice. So like what more could he do to really be taken into consideration, especially on top of everything he's already done in the past of like just the accolades, what he's been able to do, like to not make it in the top 3 in the MVP voting, and you were at 15, 18 losses on the season is kind of crazy. Like, what do you think about that?
I really don't know, and I was just thinking about it. I had my ET thinking cap on. I was saying, I mean, he light skinned, he got that. I mean, good looking kid. Like, what's missing? He's selling his shoe. He's got the most endorsements in the league. He's got his own ruffles. Like, he's doing it the right way. He takes care of the game. He plays hard every single night. Like, he doesn't miss any games. I really don't know. I mean, besides him not shooting free throws, like, I don't know.
And that's a real conversation to have, because when I'm looking, I'm like, well, does winning, like, not like the James Harden thing, was like, does winning not mean anything? Like, do you keep moving a banister? But like, he's going to keep doing his thing. But if I was Tatum, I'm like, bro, I'm averaging 28 and we're winning by a long shot. And you don't want to self-campaign, but it's like, how hard it is to average 28 on this team? We're all loaded. Pause. Like, I'm still doing my job. Yeah. So
I have no idea. When's the last Boston MVP we've had? Maybe something against Boston. They have some killers.
I don't know. Larry Bird. Yeah, that was it. Larry Legend was the last one, maybe. Damn. You seen what Anthony Davis said the other day? You seen him finish the top 3 for the Defensive Player of the Year award. So I believe it was Anthony Davis. So they came out with the Kia, obviously the finalists for the Defensive Player of the Year award. So it's Rudy Gobert. It's obviously Wemby, and I believe the last person is Bam Adebayo. I believe when they asked Anthony Davis about it, he's like, "Bro, the league just doesn't like me. I've been the best defensive player in the league for a long, long time. And this year, the frustration, he's played 75 games, the dominance he's been trying to have. I mean, he's been dominating this whole year. So how do you feel about that? Especially when you look at guys like yourself that didn't make an all-defensive team for like until you went somewhere sexy to go do it. You know what I mean?
Pick me to play Team USA because of defense, and I never made a first team all defense. Never finished finalist defensive player of the year. Like, I knew I was good at that. Like, I knew it. I think with AD, it's the Lakers thing, and I'm gonna be honest. It's like, playing for the Lakers comes with a different type of narrative and being under that microscope. Anthony Davis had an amazing year. He had a great year, and he'll have 33 and 18, and they'd be like, AD, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And I go back to like Moses Malone. He said, man, I averaged 33 and 15, and I was making $200,000. They gonna give me $1 million. What you expect me to do? I can't do no better than this. And they acting like it's just supposed to be like on command. Like, how good the league is?
Also think, I guess, is the result of I feel like 8 years ago or 10 years ago, Charles Barkley looked crazy. It was like, in 5 years, this will be the best player in the world. And he was referring to Anthony Davis. So I think sometimes when it comes down to it, it's kind of like karma for not, I guess, defiantly or like, doing that and making that so obvious,
Yeah.
So.
And he's a little quiet. He doesn't, give you more than just going out there and playing and doing his job. There's no character to it. I'm just speaking from the world we live in because I'm anti like all the antics and all that nonsense. And then, anytime he gets poked in the eye, it's blown out of proportion. Like AD out again. Like you said, he played 75 games this year. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I agree with that sentiment. Like AD controlled the entire paint. He had the Dwight Howard effect, and people don't understand that.